Hey guys, it's Mike Vernon coming at you, and we're going to be talking about the real estate bubble burst that's impending, or at least according to a couple of articles that are floating around out there. But really, it has been way too long since we've talked about real estate on a macro and a micro level, both nationwide and here in Metro Detroit. So we're going to break that down, and especially as it relates to affordability. There have been a lot of changes happening in the market, especially around mortgages, and as both a real estate agent and an investor for over 20 years, I want to make sure to break this down so you have all the information to help you and your family. Before we get going, don't forget to hit the like button to help the YouTube gods get this out to everybody possible who needs to hear the message, and if you haven't, subscribe to the channel. One thing I do want to put out there is that real estate is a big ship to turn. I mean, this is a cruise liner, not a speedboat. So unlike stock, where you can have one bad earning report and, like Peloton, tank by 80%, very rapidly, real estate is a very slow moving ship, and it takes a lot of different things, a lot of different fundamental shifts to change the direction or bring housing prices down. So I don't think that that's the fear right now. So the real estate market has been going crazy, and appreciation has been off the charts, never before seen until this last 24-month period. But let's start there 24 months ago to see what really happened. So the first thing the Fed did once the economy hit the skids was lower interest rates. And the reason for this is because they wanted to make it more affordable for businesses to build a new factory, keep jobs here in America, redo existing factory, redo existing infrastructure. They wanted to make it exceptionally cheap to do so, and as a consequence, mortgage interest rates also dropped to the lowest they'd ever been. About 2.8% is where they ended up hovering. That were coming to market for the first time, trying to take advantage of those interest rates, and because of the economic uncertainty of that moment, we had a lot of sellers that decided, you know what, maybe we're not going to move and buy that next bigger house, resulting in record low inventory levels, inventory being number of homes available to purchase on the market, causing market values to jump upward. So low interest rates was the first, causing low inventory being the second reason why there was an upward pressure on home prices on the market in 2020 and 2021. So let's get to the third reason, supply chain bottlenecks. So supply chain issues have been causing bottlenecks in material getting from other countries to here, or even across our own country, causing those prices to spiral upward. So the fourth and final reason why we've had this upward pressure is because of wage growth. It's costing more and more for builders to employ the contractors just to build the homes. So we have this lack of inventory due to low interest rates and the frenzy of buyers trying to take advantage of them, people that don't want to move because of economic uncertainty, builders not building because they can't get a hold of the material, and also builders not building because they can't get the right contractors to do the job in the properties. Now, on top of all that, we have the highest inflation rate we've seen in the last 40 years at 7.5%, and the government is not taking that one on the chin or lying down. In fact, the Fed chair has decided we're going to go ahead and raise the interest rates to try to alleviate some of that inflation pressure. So interest rates just hit 4% for the first time in 30 months. 30 months, guys. So when interest rates had hit their rock bottom about a year ago at 2.8% on a 30-year fix, a $500,000 house would cost you roughly $2,054 per month on the monthly payment. However, right now interest rates are at 4%, so that same home that you could buy at $500,000 would now cost you $2,387 per month, making a difference of $333 on your monthly payment. That's a huge move, over 10%. But guys, that's not actually how the math works, because when somebody gets pre-approved for a loan, they're not pre-approved for a dollar amount, they're pre-approved for a payment amount, and most people go straight to the top. So let's say you're pre-approved for the payment of $2,000 a month. A year ago, that would have gotten you a house at roughly $487,000. Make that purchase and pay the $2,000 a month. Today, that same payment will get you a house at $419,000, and that's a heck of a difference, and frankly, a completely different property. So logic would dictate that because of the rising interest rates, home prices would actually stop rising and actually go down. In fact, the Mortgage Bankers Association has predicted that home values are going to go down across the U.S. roughly 2.5%. However, guys, we don't live in a vacuum. We don't live in a silo. That is just not the case. And here's the reason why. Typically, when interest rates are hiked, is because the economy is red hot and on fire, and they're using the interest rates to temper the economy from rising too fast, just like they do on the opposite side back in 2020 when they lowered interest rates to keep it from crashing too hard. And there is where the vacuum sits. In fact, looking at the Case-Shiller report over the last 40 years, which is the gold standard on home values across the U.S., we've seen that even with interest rates going up, real estate values still continue to go up over time. Another point that Case-Shiller makes as to why real estate values are going to continue to rise, even though we've seen the interest rate jump 1.2% from 2.8 to 4%, is simply that. We have a ton of people, a ton of Americans that had relocked their loan or gotten their loan at that 2.8% rate, and now they're looking at that 4% and saying, well, maybe instead of moving and relocking at the higher rate, even though I may be buying a bigger home and that's what I want and that's what I need for my family, I'm good, I'll pass, I'll just stay here. So that's going to keep more properties off the market, which again puts an upward pressure on pricing. Now let's extrapolate what would happen if somebody buys a home and the value immediately goes down 15%. Here's how that would work. In a high unemployment rate environment, a lot of people would leave their homes to the bank, they would do short sales, all the things that we saw in 2007, 8, 9, and 10. However, that's not the case right now. At the unemployment rate at or below 4.5%, people do have jobs, wage growth is real, and people are sitting there saying, hey, you know what, I can still afford my monthly payments, so instead of taking a $60,000 loss for no reason just to make a move, I'm just going to keep on making my payments and chugging along, thereby keeping more properties off the market and again impacting home values. So next up, what we have to buoy home prices is of course rising rents. And in some areas of the US, rents have gone up as much as 40%. Here in Metro Detroit, we saw a 25% increase in rents over the last 2 years. Now what that means is as tenants are coming up and releasing their property, they're looking at their rents and saying, okay, this is actually outstripping the increases of any sort of an interest rate hike. Should they have bought a home a couple years ago? Sure, they should have. They could have gotten it for less, they could have gotten it for a lower interest rate, and they may have decided, you know what, my rent payment was just fine. But now seeing those rents increase literally hundreds of dollars per month, they're jumping out and saying, hey, we're going to buy a property instead of rent a property because that's become more affordable. In fact, studies have shown that rents have outstripped real estate appreciation by a number of years, and this is no different. Today is any indication, the rent price is going up 25%, yet the real estate price is only going up 15% over the last 12 months, means that we've got some room to grow. So that all leads me to my number one piece of advice for home buyers. So right now we've seen this crazy multiple offer market where people are waiving appraisals and waiving inspections and doing all of those crazy things only because we have low inventory levels and because prices are rising. So if you're looking at your local common market and saying, okay, I've got to really compete to win, that's because prices are rising, not because we're seeing a bubble or there's a potential for a decrease. We have all the historical data over all of the markets dating back almost 100 years, and putting all of this together and looking at all the evidence, what we know is that a bubble burst is just not in the cards. So if you're an owner, get into the lowest rate possible as fast as you can, get into that home, and frankly, just sit there and enjoy your equity. Enjoy the three things that you're going to gain through home ownership. First is a nice tax write-off with the mortgage interest deduction. Second one is the increasing equity you're going to have every month by paying down that loan. And third is just the appreciation of the property itself. There's another fourth one out there that's a little bit of an intangible. It's your property. Paint it any color you want, including pink. Check this one out. Now, if you're a renter, I'm going to give you a little bit different piece of advice, especially if you're considering renting in the long term. Number one is you're going to want to lock in on that next rental for as long of a term as possible. And I'm talking a 2, 3, 4, 5-year term to try to lock that price as low as possible, because the lowest rent price you're going to be able to lock in is today. It will be higher tomorrow because rents are going up, and guys, they are not coming back down. So that's my number one piece of advice there. And the second piece of advice for renters is be open to take a look at a couple of different areas. Maybe take a look at a couple of different apartment complexes, maybe different cities. If you're renting a single family house, maybe look at moving a mile up or a mile down, because those all impact rents and could impact your family long term. And again, once you find that right spot as a renter, lock it in. Guys, Mike Perna, we would be honored to help your family purchase a home or sell a home. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next video.